welcome to Bay Sunday. I'm your host, Elizabeth Wenger. Frank Malakote is off today. We love to hear from our viewers, so if you have a show idea, you can head to cbssf.com. You'll see the number there on the bottom of your screen. You can click on Connect, and you'll get information and links to our email, Facebook, Twitter, the works. Our first guest this morning searched for purpose after surviving a heart attack and then breast cancer. So Karen Baldwin, she travels alone to South Africa to teach in a rural Zulu elementary school. But her dream, in some ways, turns into a nightmare. And she wrote a book about her experiences. It's called Ruby's World, My Journey with the Zulu. Good morning, Karen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Elizabeth.
Thank
you so much for having me here.
So you said that Africa didn't choose you, or you chose Africa more than Africa chose you. What was the experience like at that time, and why did you feel pulled so much to go to Africa?
Well, after I'd survived my heart attack and the breast cancer, you know, the two biggest killers of women, I felt compelled to give back to the world, to do something purposeful. And working with women and children, I couldn't think of anything better to be doing. And I had a series of dreams that sort of pulled me in the direction of Africa. And that's how I ended up there as opposed to someplace else in the world.
And when you first got there, when you arrived at the airport, you first started teaching children, it was a great experience.
It was. The Zulu were so welcoming. They were so excited to have someone who spoke English as their first language to help the kids, because English is now the official language of South Africa. And I lived with Ruby, her husband Mahambi, and they were so gracious and warm, and I was thrilled to be where I was teaching the kids.
So when did things start to change?
Things started to really shift when Granny died. Granny was the matriarch of the entire Ndlela clan, Mahambi's mother. And so as the wife of the eldest son of the clan, Ruby was then obligated to take over the role of matriarch for the whole clan, and things really started to shift.
In what ways? What did you see?
Well, I think that she had to start answering to the clan in the rural areas in a more traditional way. You know, Ruby saw herself as this very modern, westernized woman, and in many ways she was. But when she assumed the role of matriarch, she had to go back to being a traditional woman, following the traditional ways. And I think she started to answer to some of the elders. And having a white person living in her home wasn't real popular.
And so what does that mean? I've read that at some points you felt like your goodwill hit a breaking point.
My goodwill hit a breaking point one Thursday afternoon when they threatened to kill me if I didn't leave. And in all honesty, I didn't really see it coming. It took me by surprise. I had seen little signs that it was getting tense. It's like when you go to visit somebody, you know, and you're all really polite and nice, and everybody holds it together for a while. And then you have to start being real. And when that point of being real came about, I think my presence bumped up against their culture, their society in some ways that made them very uncomfortable.
So what do you take away from all this? Would you go back to Africa now?
I would go back in a heartbeat. I would do it differently. I wouldn't go alone again. I would take someone with me. It was very isolating to be there alone in the middle of this culture that spoke primarily Zulu and to not know the language very well. And having somebody with me to help me process the events going on around me would be really helpful. But I would give anything to go back and see these kids again, work with them, see a lot of the women again. They're very strong, powerful, capable women, and I'm eager to be able to help them.
What was it like writing this book? Was it cathartic in some ways?
It was. I have to tell you, I cried buckets writing this book. You know, reliving all of the good memories that I wish had lasted longer, and then reliving all the painful memories that, you know, tragically did not turn out the way I had hoped. So yeah, it was very cathartic. It gave me a lot of insight into events that took place while I was there that I didn't necessarily catch in the moment. So it was a good experience.
And really, you take some responsibility now, looking back for what happened.
I do. I promised myself before I left home that I would not interfere in their culture. It was my intention to go to teach English and to be an observer and to not try to change the culture. And a lot of what I expected, which was the inequality between men and women, I witnessed, and I did a pretty good job of, just watching and not trying to change too much. But at the end, towards the end, they started, at the school that I was teaching at, they started starving the kids as a way to punish the parents. And I couldn't handle it. It was so painful that I interfered by bringing a bag of apples to school to hand out as rewards for the kids that had done their homework well. And no pun intended, it came back to bite me.
Wow. All right. Well, if you want to hear more about Karen's journey, again, that's Karen Baldwin, Ruby's World, My Journey with the Zulu. There it is on your screen. You can purchase a copy of her memoir on Amazon.com. You can also go to her website. That is www.revkarenbaldwin.com. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Stay tuned. We'll have more Bay Sunday right after this.